let's get into it. So this right here is Frieza from set one. It's a leader that most people have never seen before, but has a really cool effect that helps with a new series of cards that were introduced in the anniversary box. So let's get into what he does. That's just like all the set one leaders. He does not draw on the front side, which is going to be one of the problems we have to overcome when we are building this leader. The other thing that comes up is that his awakening is only at four or less life, which in a world right now where decks are able to awaken in multiple ways, this also is kind of limiting. He draws two when he awakens, and on the backside, he's a 15k and can swing and draw and do the basic leader stuff. Why he is great though is because of the auto on the front side and the enhanced version of it on the back side. On the front side, this guy at the end of your turn untaps one of your battle cards. And the same thing on the back side, he switches two of your battle cards to active mode. So this effect has been abused in the past, and now we can revisit this guy. Of course, the series of cards I'm talking about are the green, yellow, Broly, Frieza's army cards that came out in the recent anniversary box. So we're going to start with the Unison. Four copies of Chile and Limo Allied Assistance. This card right here may seem weak because it's a 4K one cost Unison, but it's actually somewhat difficult to get this off the table, assuming that you're doing everything you're supposed to do. So it has an auto once per turn where that if you play a battle card with a rival green yellow, you get to add a marker to this card. You also have a plus one that allows you to search the top five for a green yellow multicolor Frieza army card added to your hand. And if you added a card, you discard a card. Then lastly, a plus minus zero as an activate battle that allows you, if it's not the one in combat, the combo with a green yellow multicolor card in your drop area. So as long as you can protect it for like a turn, you should be able to get to the point where it starts gaining more markers than your opponent really wants to deal with. Getting with the multicolors that you can search, we have the Chill Eye Super Combo. Let me just bring this up front for you guys. So the Chill Eye Super Combo allows you to, when you combo with it and your leader is yellow or green, to rest one of your opponent's unisons or leaders. That right there is good enough, but it has an additional effect which we hope to abuse in this deck, which is during your turn when you combo with it, you could also choose, you could, instead of doing the tapping, you could choose to KO one of your opponent's battle cards that are skillless. Next up, we have 4 of the 5 drop and 3 of the 8 drop Broly. I'm going to explain those two together. So this is the first card you're going to end up arriving. They both, let's talk about the things they got in common. Both have energy exhaust, both have blocker. This one arrivals for a single green or yellow. This arrivals for one green and a yellow. But what this also has is swap of 8 if you have 3 or more energy to pay green and yellow to put this guy into play. When this guy is played, well, let's go over this guy. When this guy is played as an auto, or when it's switched to active mode during your turn, you get to choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 4 or less and negated skills for the turn. Then it has an activate main / battle once per turn where you can switch it to rest mode to KO one of your opponent's battle cards that are skillless. This guy, when he is played, draws you a card. Then when he is played or switched to active mode during your turn, you get to choose one of your opponent's battle cards or unison cards and negate the skills for the turn. Then it has an activate battle once per turn where you get to choose one of your opponent's skillless battle cards and KO it. So these abilities very strong. You want to proc them as much as possible to make it so that it's not safe for your opponent to go in with any battle card to be able to try to kill you. And then to round out the targets for the Unison, I am playing 4 copies of the card that inspired this whole archetype, which is the SS Broly All Out Assault. This card has seen, it's one of the main reasons why you would ever play green yellow as an arrival archetype, because when you play it, you have one of two abilities. First one being that you could KO one of your opponent's battle cards with cost greater than their current energy, or you could choose one of their cards, switch it to rest mode, and draw a card. And that happens when it's played or switched to active mode during your turn. So if you're able to make this guy and then untap it, you get to draw, another card. And his ability isn't once per turn, so you could actually arrival him on a turn, pop something, swing with it, in a turn, untap it, tap something, draw a card. Very strong card. So in order for us to be able to proc these guys' abilities, this, and this, we have to have means of negating our opponent's battle cards, both during our turn and during the opponent's turn. So a lot of times during the opponent's turn, you're going to be able to do it off of arrivals. But one of the best cards to actually do it with, 4 copies of Vegeta Final Flash. So Final Flash, if you don't know what it does, says that if all your energy is yellow and your leader is yellow, you get to give the leader card or battle card plus 15,000 power. Then you get to choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and negate its skills for the turn. So this is actually quite a powerful card. During your turn, you can Final Flash, Chill Eye to out any battle card. You can also Final Flash a card and use these cards' effects to KO them. So on top of just being able to arrival a card, blank a card, and then use the skill to KO, you also have this as backup. Another card that is very slept on that should be played in the deck. 3 copies of Android 17 and 18 Demonic Duo. So this combos into play for 2 energy, similar to like Raider's Warcry. It's a 19k dual attacker, so it does put on decent pressure. But the main reason why we use it is because of, one, is deflect, so it's easier to get into play. But the second reason is it has an auto that says when your opponent attack, you get to switch your Android to rest mode, which is usually itself, to negate that battle card skill. So again, you could use the abilities of the Brolys to pop those battle cards on your opponent's turn. Then lastly, for the negations, we have 2 copies of Release from Evil. This is the free negate that you have access to if you have a yellow unison. Basically, you get to negate that card's skill, ignoring barrier, and it does not get to switch to active mode. This is pretty cool because 1, deals with multi-attackers, 2, deals with multi-strikers. So you just blank them. And then again, use the Brolys to pop it if it's a battle card. Now another card I run in the deck because the Brolys are blockers is 2 copies of Zarbon. Now granted, he does not proc their untapping skills, but it does allow you to, if you needed to block with something, like with this guy, and then if they come with something else, negate something else, Zarbon to untap the blocker, and then tap it to pop a battle card that is skillless. So that's one thing. Also, it allows you to multi-block with any of these guys. So it's just good anyway. All right, so now to the rest of the cards, because this is basically the main theme package. So then you just have utilities from this point. 1 copy of Mechagabura. So Mechagabura is arguably the most powerful yellow unison there is. Granted, other cards have been printed, but I still think Mechagabura is outrageous. It's a blocker itself. If a marker gets removed from it for combat, you get to rest any card on your opponent's side of the field. You also get the +1, choose one of their battle cards in rest mode, draw a card, and that card does not get to restand, so you get to lock down an entire boss monster. And then the -4 allows you to just take one of their battle cards. So I still think this is amazing, so I play it. 4 copies of Vegeta Prideful Transformation. Again, you got to be able to protect this thing. So even if you play this on turn 1, plus up, get a guy, you need to be able to stop the first card that attacks and then block. That's being played and then block. We also play 2 copies of Krillin. This allows us to self-awaken. So in this deck, if they don't hit you, you're going to have a little bit of a problem. But also in this deck, playing these guys are less of a liability because you get to just play it, swing, take a life, and then in a turn you get to untap it. So that way your opponent can't just swing into them. And yeah, overall just pretty good in this deck. So 15 crit pressure, self-awakening, and also it gets protected by the leader skill. 2 copies of Mecha Frieza Robotic Riposte. We do play, and we'll get into it, a whole bunch of extra cards. So being able to play this, negate an attack, and then force them to tap things if they want to attack anymore is very powerful. So as mentioned, when you grab a card with this, you got to discard a card. So right now, because it's the cheapest option, which I never thought I would say that, play 4 copies of these Draw Apes. The better one is the Bardock Ape for this deck because 1, it only costs 1, but 2, it goes along with popping things that are skillless that the deck wants to do. So if you have access to those promo Bardock Apes, I would suggest you do that. But again, since these got reprinted, these are like running around $8 or so. Pick them up. They're going to be good this whole format. Don't be cheap. That's all I have to say to you about that. Then we have our Chain of Ultimates. I know what you're saying. You can only have one ultimate, but all 3 of these cards are one-ofs that are limited to 1 by the rules. So we have 1 Bergamo. So if we are able to tap anything, with the Broly or some of the other cards that we have, Chili, you get to play this guy for 2, and then rest 2 of your opponent's battle cards or energy ignoring barrier, and you get a 20k out of it. So just good and all in all. Playing Frieza Army Leader, you play Cold Bloodless. If you don't know what Cold Bloodless does, it just hard negates the skill of a card that is being played. So that way, you could again use this to blank something and then use one of these to pop it on your opponent's turn. Ultimate, we are playing Sen Shenron Zeno. You also play Kai, you could play heroines, you could play a lot of stuff, but I'm going with this right here. One benefit if you did want to play heroines and you didn't want to play this is that because of the ability to Final Flash a card, you could actually, or even this right here, a card, you can actually take stuff that you would not normally be able to take that has barrier on it or indestructible. You could just hit it with one of these, use heroines, and just take it. Granted, you need 2 energy to do that, or in this case, you just still need a 1, but it's still, I could see the benefit of running heroines in a deck, so you could definitely do that. Furthering to help protect this, we run the 3 Frieza's Army Reinforcements. This also helps us to self-awaken. A lot of people like to leave these kind of old school leaders at 5. You punish them by using this, take a life, protecting the unison, making a blocker, and then be able to protect the unison again. And then 2 copies of Poutine because we are playing yellow, so it doesn't make sense not to run it. If you don't know what Poutine does, if your opponent plays a card with a skill, a battle card with a skill, or activates a counter skill, which a lot of people forget about that effect, you get to rest one of their battle cards. And it doesn't have to be the one being played. You can just rest any of them. and she has barrier. She is unique, so you can't spam a bunch of them out there. That's why she's only at 2. But very powerful card that most yellow decks, if they could proc her, should be playing. Other cards to consider are cards such as I'm grab it right here. This Trunks right here, right? So if you think you want to go above 50 cards, or you think you don't need a Self Awakening, this Trunks is a very powerful cycler. If you're able to switch one of your opponent's cards to rest mode, you could discard this card from your hand, draw a card. So it basically makes your deck uh, smaller by having 4 cards that just replace themselves without any energy investment. And then while it's in your drop area, you could pay yellow, send it to the warp as an activate battle to choose one of your opponent's battle cards with cost 4 or less and switch it to rest mode. So that's, of course, a very good card. You can also run Basil Fatal Rampage if you want to be a little lower to the ground, a little bit more aggro. I did not choose to do that because I'm trying to play this more of a upper mid range control deck. And then lastly, you can run, Power to Super Saiyan in the deck. I chose to go with this Overpower, but it's definitely a very good card. You just use it as a hard negate, or you can use it as an activate battle to draw a card and rest when the opponent's battle cards are unisons. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this deck profile. I will be catching you back again. VG Time signing out.